A lot of my money comes from my top spenders. He's one of my top biggest spenders. He is the biggest spender.
The CEO of a billion-dollar business is in damage control after his affair with a colleague was exposed.
We're going to continue to expand globally.
Andy Byron, CEO of a billion-dollar AI company, and Kristen Cabot, his head of human resources, were seen shrinking in panic at the concert.
They don't even get caught if they're just both at the concert together. They only get caught because they're openly canoodling at the concert. It betrays a lack of respect for any sort of judgment, but also for a basic value system.
He's married with teenage children. Kristen Cabot has been divorced for 3 years. She was hired just 8 months ago. And now that 15 seconds of video is having a devastating impact on both of their lives.
A 15-second kiss cam moment just detonated into a 6-figure OnlyFans firestorm, and now Andy Byron is threatening lawsuit against the model he already paid. The model claims he dropped $250,000 on custom calls and VIP access, while whispers of receipts collide with a marriage and a boardroom under pressure. Tonight, we separate what's confirmed from what's alleged, and reveal the one legal move that could blow this up even bigger. The number hit first. Not a rumor, a headline. $250,000. It ricocheted across feeds like a siren. Screenshots, cropped totals, and a chorus of check the receipts. Some posts called it spending, others said obsession. All of them agreed on one thing. The figure was too big to ignore. Where did it come from? A patchwork of posts, blogs, and creator chatter that moved faster than any press office. One outlet amplifies it, then 2 more. By morning, the story has its own gravity. People aren't debating whether he paid for content. They're calculating how much went to subscriptions, how much to custom clips, and what VIP access really buys. The claims paint a picture. Not one-off tips, not a late-night impulse, structured requests, paywalled DMs, premium rates for exclusive time, alleged live calls with prices that make even veteran creators blink. It sounds like a portfolio, only the asset is attention and the yield is privacy. But here's the catch. Most of the so-called proof lives in the gray zone. Blurred usernames, redacted logs, secondhand confirmations from people in the room. Enough detail to set the internet on fire. Not enough to stand up in court without a fight. That ambiguity becomes the fuel. The less certain the paperwork, the more certain the takes. Behind the feeds, a quieter economy kicks in. Creator group chats light up. High spenders get flagged. Patterns get mapped. A username here, a familiar phrasing there. Someone connects a payment time to a public appearance. Suddenly, the story doesn't feel like a spreadsheet. It feels like a timeline. And once a number sticks, it sticks hard. 250 becomes the shorthand for everything. Excess, ego, entitlement. It's the meme caption, the podcast title, the late-night punchline. Even people who didn't see the clip now know the number, which is why the next name matters even more. Because in the middle of the math, one creator kept surfacing, again and again, along with an alleged price tag that turned the whispers into a roar. But that wasn't the whole story. The name that wouldn't go away was a 23-year-old creator who goes by Sophie Rain. Not the biggest account on the platform, but the kind that turns heads in VIP chats. Her content sells intimacy as a premium. Access is the product. And according to circulating claims, Andy wanted the platinum tier. Allegedly, one private video call alone carried a price tag that stunned even veteran creators. 40 grand. Not a bundle, not a year's spend, one session. The number became folklore overnight. In creator discords, it was the punchline and the case study. Whoever this whale is, he's not just tipping, he's programming his own channel, one commenter wrote, half joking, half serious. This is how that world actually works. At the top, VIP donor culture operates like a private club. Paywalls inside paywalls. DMs that open only after you pass a certain threshold. Custom menus, timed calls, priority queues. The more you spend, the more the algorithm, both human and platform, bends to your schedule. It's not just content, it's concierge. When the kiss cam clip made Andy's face a household meme, the dots connected fast. Creators dug up old requests that sounded eerily similar across accounts. The same phrasing, the same timing, the same urgency to jump the line. A username that once looked random now felt familiar. A high roller pattern emerged. Sophie didn't exactly deny the chatter. She didn't confirm it outright either. Instead, she posted just enough to keep the oxygen flowing. wry captions, sly references to finance guys, and a line that got screenshotted into oblivion. It wasn't a confession, it was a wink. And on the internet, a wink can trend longer than a statement. The economics make her reaction make sense. When a client becomes a headline, the attention spills over. Page views spike, new subs roll in. The mystery becomes marketing. Even if you never say a name, the public fills it in for you. That's the brutal symmetry. The same virality that melts a board's patience can triple a creator's revenue. Meanwhile, insiders describe how these VIP lists circulate. Not as formal spreadsheets, more like living folklore. A group chat pings, whale spotted. Screenshots of redacted receipts bounce around. Someone tallies totals. Someone else matches time zones with public events. It's crowdsourced OSINT with a profit motive. The alleged 40K call became the shorthand for everything that followed. Podcasts broke it down like a quarterly report. Was it really a call? Was it a bundle? What do you even buy for that price? The answers matter less than the headline. Once the number imprints, nuance gets bulldozed by virality. And yet, there's a blind spot in the outrage. In that ecosystem, privacy is the unspoken currency. High spenders expect discretion. Creators protect it because trust keeps the lights on. But when a client becomes a public villain, the gravity flips. Silence feels like complicity. Speaking feels like survival. That's where the ethics get messy. Sophie, intentionally or not, played that line perfectly. Enough intrigue to feed the algorithm. Enough ambiguity to dodge a cease and desist. The crowd rewarded it. The story metastasized. And Andy's alleged digital footprint wasn't a rumor anymore. It was interactive entertainment. But even as the internet turned Sophie into the face of the saga, the most consequential move wasn't happening on her page. It was happening in a much quieter place, at home. Because while the creators debated receipts and rates, someone closer to Andy had something far more explosive. Messages that didn't need a caption. And what happened next would make the 40K headline look small. Silence can be a strategy. While the internet argued over receipts and rates, the person closest to Andy said nothing. No tearful statement, no cryptic post, just a blackout. And that's exactly why the temperature shifted. According to circulating reports, it wasn't creators who changed the stakes, it was the spouse. Allegedly, she had screenshots, time-stamped messages, enough context to make the just rumors crowd go quiet. Nothing theatrical, just the kind of material that doesn't need a caption. In a story built on speculation, that hint of domestic proof cut the loudest. Public sympathy snapped into place. Comment sections went from jokes to judgment. The narrative pivoted from wild spending online to a household blindsided. That's when the morality play kicks in. People forgive messy behavior. They don't forgive humiliation at home. Here's the uncomfortable truth. In this economy, privacy is currency. And once a partner steps into the frame, even indirectly, the rules change. Leaks stop feeling like gossip and start reading like testimony. Even the people defending him started hedging. If those DMs are real, became the new refrain. Creators felt it too. The vibe around the 40K headline shifted from LOL whale to who else knew? Threads filled with ethics debates. What's fair to reveal? What crosses a line? Why high spenders assume discretion until they go public by accident? The same attention that turbocharges a creator's income can turn a family into collateral. That tension drove the story harder than any meme. And the spouse's silence? It wasn't weakness, it was leverage. No rants, no live streams, just the quiet implication that more existed and didn't have to be posted to be believed. The internet hates a vacuum, so it filled it with certainty. Brands notice that, boards notice that, judges do too. From Andy's side, the calculus gets brutal. You can argue with influencers. You can downplay headlines. But once the narrative sits inside your living room, your options shrink. You either accept the hit and rebuild quietly, or you go on offense and try to scare the story back into the shadows. That's when the tone changed. The jokes turned into warnings. The hints turned into threats. According to various accounts, the message was simple. This has gone too far, and someone's getting a letter. The kind with a letterhead. Which brings us to the 4 words that poured gasoline on everything. I'm gonna sue her. If he follows through, he risks discovery, anti-slap headaches, and a spotlight you can't dim. If he doesn't, he looks cornered. Either way, the next move isn't about memes anymore. it's about law. And what happens when a viral scandal walks into a courtroom will shock everyone. Lawyers change the temperature of a story fast, threaten a suit, and suddenly every post becomes a potential exhibit. But I'm gonna sue her only sounds simple until you ask the one question that matters. Sue for what exactly? Defamation is the headline option. To win, he'd need to show false statements of fact, published to others, that damaged him. If he's treated as a public figure, and a high-profile CEO usually is, he also has to prove actual malice, meaning the poster knew it was false or didn't care whether it was true. That's a brutal bar. Truth is a complete defense. So are clearly labeled opinions and satire. The internet's messy, but the standard isn't. Privacy claims sound tempting, but they're booby-trapped. Public disclosure of private facts requires material that isn't newsworthy and offends a reasonable person. A viral stadium moment? Hard to argue you had a strong expectation of privacy when you're on a jumbo screen. As for alleged spending logs, if they're real and lawfully obtained, newsworthiness swallows a lot. If they're fake, we're back to defamation and discovery. False light? Some states allow it, some don't, and it often overlaps with defamation. Intentional infliction of emotional distress? Courts reserve that for conduct that's truly outrageous, not just humiliating. Online pile-ons feel awful, but awful isn't always actionable. What about going after a creator for revealing DMs or naming a client? Unless there's a signed confidentiality agreement that clearly covers this, contracts don't magically appear because someone spent VIP money. Platform terms can restrict posting private content, but those are primarily between the user and the platform. Suing the platform itself runs into a wall of immunity protections and policy fine print. Then comes the anti-slap problem. In many places, if a judge decides a suit targets speech on a public issue, it can get tossed early, and the filer pays the other side's legal fees. That flips a threat letter from intimidation into an own goal. Influencers know this now. Some even dare you to try. And the discovery nightmare is real. File a lawsuit and you invite subpoenas for devices, bank statements, app logs, IP records, and every message that touches the narrative. Opposing counsel will want dates, amounts, usernames, call durations, and who knew what, when. If you say the receipts are fake, you'll be asked to prove it, under oath. If you say they're real but private, you may have just authenticated them. Jurisdiction adds another headache. Creators live everywhere. Some sit behind LLCs, some post from abroad, serving them, deposing them, picking the state with the friendliest laws. None of it is quick or cheap. Meanwhile, every court filing becomes content. The Streisand effect doesn't bill by the hour, it bills in headlines. Could he still sue? Sure. Threats sometimes buy silence. Settlements happen in the shadows every day. But the cost-benefit calculus for a public figure is brutal. Even a win can widen the blast radius. That's why most high-profile legal blitzes end not with a verdict, but with a quiet walkback and a rehab plan. And while the legal chessboard lit up, another board had already moved. Inside the company, policies, optics, and liability were driving decisions faster than any lawsuit could. The next chapter isn't about posts, it's about paychecks, policies, and a boardroom that decided it couldn't wait. Boardrooms don't go viral, but they move fast when the optics turn toxic. A CEO on a kiss cam is awkward. A CEO on a kiss cam with someone tied to HR is a policy grenade. Codes of conduct, romance disclosures, conflict rules. Suddenly they're not paperwork, they're the script. Inside, the cadence changes. Outside, counsel gets looped in. A special committee forms, laptops get imaged, Slack keywords get pulled. Everyone is told to save everything. No jokes, no hot takes. The question isn't, did a law get broken? It's, can we defend this judgment call to regulators, customers, and 500 employees who just watched the clip on loop? HR cases are always sensitive. HR cases where HR is part of the headline, that's radioactive. Even if there was consent, even if no policy line was technically crossed, the appearance of leverage can't be ignored. Boards don't try to litigate optics in public, they neutralize them. That means quick findings, clean exits, and a promise to reaffirm our values. Compensation committees get busy. Was there a morals clause? Are there clawback triggers tied to reputational harm? If the departure is without cause, severance costs money but buys peace. If it's for cause, you save cash but invite a fight. Either way, those decisions shape the next news cycle more than any tweet. Meanwhile, enterprise reality bites. Key accounts ask for a call. Procurement teams want to know if leadership drama becomes delivery risk. Recruiting pipelines pause. Partners hedge. Even if revenue is fine, trust isn't. That's why the board moves before customers do. Stabilize first, explain later. Internally, leaders hold hushed all hands. We're focused on the mission. We support our people. It's sincere and also survival. You can't ship product if half the staff is doom scrolling and the other half is wondering if policies are real or just posters on a wall. By week's end, the official statements land. Effective immediately. After an investigation, we appreciate their contributions. It's careful language engineered to close a chapter without opening 3 more. For most companies, that's the end of the story, but not here. Because while the policy machine tried to seal the breach, the internet had already turned the scandal into an ongoing series, with new episodes dropping hourly, and the next episode wasn't a memo, it was a meme. The internet didn't wait for affidavits, it ran a public trial in real time. Clips, captions, parodies, each one a vote, each one a verdict. Trends multiplied. One day it's kiss cam reenactments, the next charts breaking down alleged expenses like a quarterly report. People argued in comments the way lawyers argue in court, louder, not smarter. Creators ate. Reaction channels, breakdown channels, ethics of VIP spend channels, everyone found an angle. The model mentions alone turned into SEO rocket fuel. Even a cryptic caption could move numbers. Memes did what memos can't. They flattened nuance. They turned a complicated mess into 3 beats: the clip, the cache, the consequences. Once a story becomes a template, it scales without facts. Brands clocked it. Late-night jokes landed. Think pieces framed it as a parable about power, privacy, and paywalled desire. By the time the actually BA's threads showed up, the narrative had already hardened. Silences got interpreted too. No denial? Must be true. Careful denial? Too careful. That's the trap of the meme economy. The calmer you are, the guiltier you look. Meanwhile, the receipts culture professionalized. Side-by-side timelines, redacted screenshots with forensic arrows, OSINT threads that felt airtight until you looked twice. But by then, the moment had moved on. And the hardest hit wasn't the resume, it was the reputation graph. Investors, partners, future employers, they don't read every post. They absorb the vibe, a headline, a punchline, a muted response. That's enough to set a price on your name, which leads to the last move on the board. You can't out-meme the internet. You can only outlast it. That takes PR triage, quiet settlements, and a rebrand built brick by brick. And the cost of that comeback? It's higher than any alleged VIP bill. There are only 3 plays left: triage, settle, reinvent. None are pretty, all are expensive. PR triage starts with silence, strategic, not sulking. Lock the feed, hire the crisis shop. 1 spokesperson, 1 message. No subtweets, no notes app confessional, unless it says something specific. Accountability, boundaries, help. The comeback script is predictable because it works. Own what's safe to own, dispute what's provably wrong, and redirect to family, health, and healing. Boring is the point. Boring turns off the algorithm. Behind the curtain, the settlement machine hums. Quiet outreach, no admissions, mutual non-disparagement, maybe a content update without naming names. If money moves, it moves under an NDA with a sunset clause and teeth. The risk is obvious. Settle too broadly and it looks like confirmation. Fight too loudly and you trigger discovery. The winners here don't tweet, they wire. Then comes the hardest part, the rebrand problem. Search results don't forget, meme templates don't expire, you don't erase a public persona, you layer a new one on top, brick by brick. That means long stretches of visible usefulness, mentoring, philanthropy with receipts, competent work that isn't about you. No victory laps, no clapbacks. Let other people do the talking. Credible folks with nothing to gain. The career move, if it happens, won't be a throne. It'll be a lower profile lane. Advisory roles, private companies, operator titles without the spotlight. New LLCs, new projects, new cadence. 12 quiet months beats 12 loud apologies. Consistency is the rebrand. Expect a trial balloon interview down the road, not a tearful sit down, something measured. What I learned. Where I failed. The internet will dunk for 48 hours. If the groundwork was real, the dunking fizzles. If it wasn't, the cycle restarts. There's a final fork he can't avoid. He can try to win by force, lawyers, threats, pressure, or by gravity, time, usefulness, earned trust. One path inflames, the other bores. Only one actually works. And that's why this saga isn't ending with a headline number or a viral clip. It ends with a choice about control, of narrative, of impulses, of what survives in public memory. But the internet always keeps a receipt. which is why the conclusion isn't about scandal at all, it's about what's left when the noise finally stops. A stadium camera turned one moment into a saga. Confirmed resignations, alleged six-figure spends, a creator who understood the algorithm, and a spouse who weaponized silence. Then came the 4 words, "I'm gonna sue her." And the story shifted from gossip to risk, from memes to motions. What's proven sits beside what's rumored, and the gap between them is where reputations go to burn. So here's the real question. Is the scandal the behavior or the marketplace that monetizes exposing it? If he files, Discovery could script the next season. If he doesn't, time and boring consistency will. Either way, someone pays, financially, publicly, or both. Think about what survives after the noise. Not the clip, not the number, but the pattern. Power, privacy, and the price of attention. In this economy, the timeline is the judge and the feed never sleeps. The next move decides whether this ends in a courtroom or in quiet.